I want
This meeting is being recorded.
Pardon? There we go. I want to say hi to Linda Toko.
Yes, hello, Linda.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, Gail.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sure can. Long time no see.
I know. Hey,
nice to meet you, Linda.
I just finished one of your bracelets, actually 2 of your bracelets, and I'm gonna do the other one after I learn this bead.
Cool. The bead that Lisa's gonna teach you?
Yeah, I bought that kit. Yeah.
Yep, excellent. Yep. Well, as you know, we do a lot of stuff together, so it should all work well.
All right. So
okay, sorry.
Let's go live on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
Don't know. Let's be live. With Lisa, Candy, and Rochelle. Whoops. I should capitalize our names, huh? Sorry, guys. Trying to type through. Okay, share on your own timeline. Share to a page. Share to UMBS Society. Go live. Oops. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show. This is Let's Bead Live Saturday with Upper Midwest Bead Society. And we have today with us Lisa Dooley going first, teaching the beaded beads, her beautiful, wonderful beaded arabesque beaded bead. And this is the first of her 3 bead series. So in March, she'll be teaching us a bead, and in April, she'll be teaching us another bead. So then you can string them all together and make all kinds of wonderful things. Candy Sexton will be second from 2 until 3 o'clock, teaching us everything about crochet and bead crochet, tubular bead crochet. So if you don't want to peyote those tubes, crocheting those tubes is a whole lot faster. And then I will be last teaching Alexandra Sidorenko's unicorn tears. And so we're super darn excited. I'm not sure if everybody went to our website, umbs.org, and downloaded the pattern for Lisa's arabesque beaded beads or the unicorn tears. So you still have time to do that if you want to, umbs.org. And then after that, we do want to mention, does anybody else have announcements they want to make?
Yes, I do. I want to remind people that we have the case at the state fair this year. And I would really like to see a lot of entries. It's not judged in any way, but it's a chance to have people see your work. Our theme is Beads Connect Us. And there's a lot of way to make connections. You can make connections with bead friends, and you could make a piece to honor one of your friends. You make connections between the beads with thread or wire. You make a connection with a bail to the straps. You make a connection with jump rings to the clasps. It's very easy. Just show us your work, and please submit lots of entries. Thank you.
It's a large case, like 8 foot by 6 foot by 2 foot deep, I think. So we've got room for a ton of things. So we would love to invite everybody in the Bead Society to submit stuff to show. And I think that maybe we have to talk about it in our board, but maybe inviting other bead societies to submit one piece from their bead society to connect our together, and then we'll put,
That's a good
you know,
idea.
because that way, you know, because Gail Foster here, she's the president of the Great Lakes Bead Guild. And I'm not sure what other bead societies or other folks joining us on Zoom are, but I know we have members who are part of many guilds and societies, so we want to join you all to, and so there's so much space, and so yeah, you'll send us a picture and your stuff and we'll get it all in the case. So
We'd like to see lots of pieces.
exactly. So that the state fair is in August. So we need to have your designs by July, right?
July 15th,
There you go.
so that we have time to set up how we're going to display them.
And we also have a bead retreat coming up. And that is the third week in March, Wednesday through Sunday, right? And so there's information on the umbs.org website about the retreat. So join us for lots of fun stuff in the retreat. And any other announcements? Well, then I think we should start the show with Lisa. And so let's pin her and spotlight for everybody so that Lisa can, and if everybody wants to mute their microphones, unless you want to ask her a question, then unmute to ask away.
Ready? All right.
Yes.
So my name is Lisa Dooley, and like Rochelle had said, I'm going to show you how to make the arabesque beaded bead. And I can show you, there's several things that you can do with it. I have this bracelet that I'm wearing, and I have kits for these. So I strung these and I put an 8mm of fire polish in between the beaded beads, and I made that into a bracelet. I also have earrings that I have made, and I put a tassel on the bottom. And I have made this beaded bead sampler necklace, and I use the arabesque beaded bead as one of the beads. And then I have a spacer bead, and then I have this, it's called squiggle bead because it uses the bridge bead. The silver one is the bridge bead. And this is available as a kit also in my shop. So these can be used for really anything. Also great with kumihimo. Maggie has a kumihimo design using them also. So, all right, let's get started. So the pattern calls for a 2-foot length of thread. You could also use a 1 yard length, but I think that's a little bit excessive. It's just however long you like your thread to be, comfortable length of thread. And I'm going to attach a stop bead. And depending on the length of needle, I usually use a short needle. So I say leave a 4-inch tail, but if you're using a longer needle, then leave a 6-inch tail, because you'll need that to weave back through the beads to tie it off later. Okay, so I attached my stop bead, and I am going to string a sequence of 2 seed beads and 1 of each, an 11/0 demi of fire polish, and a demi bead. So you have those beads strung on there. Okay. And I'm going to repeat that sequence 2 more times. So 2 seed beads and 1 of each, an 11/0 demi a 2mm fire polish, and an 11/0 demi. And one more time. Okay. I should also say that I am using Toho 1G thread, and it's the, I think it's the green thread. Is that correct? Rochelle, is that it's the dark green. I think it is. Let's see.
With the dark teal, it's number 22. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that we have those beads strung, you're going to form a circle and sew through all the beads once. So take your time while you're doing this so you don't miss any of the beads. And if you are using Toho 1G thread, you might want to wax it. And that way it's not so curly. You're doing this, kind of behaves a little bit better. Okay. And then I'm going to sew through. Let me just use a little bit of wax here on my tail thread. I'm going to sew through the first 2 seed beads that I added. And there you go. So that's what it should look like. This is my stop bead there. There. Okay. So after you sew through the first 2 seed beads, you can remove the stop bead now if you would like and secure and trim the tail thread. I'm going to save that until the end for now, and I'm just going to continue. So we're going to string the following sequence: an 8/0 demi, a teacup bead, and the teacup, you'll notice that there is a concave side and a rounded side. So when you thread these, your needle is going to go through the rounded side like that. Okay. And then you're going to pick up a cabochon and make sure that both holes are open. I usually check that before I start. So we're going to go through the left side hole of the cabochon. And then we're going to pick up another teacup. And this time when you pick up the teacup, you want to sew through the concave side first. Whoops. There. So when you push the teacup beads up against the cabochon, it looks like that. Oops. Okay. Then you're going to string another size 8 demi bead. And an 11/0 seed bead. Okay. Oops. Now we're going to sew through, back through the beads, but first you're going to skip that 11/0 seed bead and sew through the 8 demi, the teacup, the left side hole of the cabochon, the teacup, and the 8 demi.
Lisa,
Yes.
how did you say to put the teacup beads on? Because I'm behind.
Okay. That's okay. So the first one you're gonna sew, you're gonna pick it up through the rounded side.
Okay.
And then because you want the concave side to be facing the cabochon,
Okay.
if that helps.
Okay.
So when you look at it, the concave side is, oops, like that.
So sew through the concave side or the round side?
The first, are you talking about the first one or the second?
Yeah,
one?
the first one.
The first one, you're going to sew through the rounded side. Oops.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
And this is the, oops, this is the rounded side. Like
Okay.
that. So that's going to be the first one that you sew through. And then the second one, this one down here, you're going to sew through the concave side.
Okay.
Like that. So then when you have those attached, then they're both, the concave side is facing the cabochon.
Okay. Which color cabochons are we supposed to use? Color A or color B?
You can use either one,
Oh,
but I would just use one color.
okay.
Don't
Okay.
don't mix them.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Linda has the necklace kit, the beaded bead sampler necklace kit like this. So she has 2 colors of cabochons that she's using. So you are going, when you make them, you're going to do the same color on one and the same color for your second one.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. So let me know when you're caught up.
It might be a while.
Okay. Did it make sense when I was talking about the teacup beads and the
Yes.
concave side? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then one thing you want to do is just to pull the thread tight through these beads. You just want to hang on to that seed bead and pull your thread tight.
Okay.
And I tighten them up. Whoopsie. And that's what it looks like. Then you're going to sew through the same seed bead that your thread exited. You're going to sew through the back door of that seed bead. So give me one moment so I can pick it up and do that, and then I'll show you. You move the tail thread out of the way. So you see how the thread is coming out this way. And then I just made a loop and sewed through the back door of that seed bead. Okay. And then pull the thread tight. And we are going, oops, my tail thread is in the way. Give me one moment. Doesn't want to behave. There. Okay, so you're going to continue to sew through the 11-0 demi, the fire polish, the 11-0 demi, and the next 11-0 seed bead. And that's where you should be. Okay. So now we're going to string 1 8-0 demi, teacup bead, and that's the same way through the rounded side first. Like that. And you're going to sew through the right side hole of.
This is going fast.
You have a question?
No, sorry.
It's okay.
Does this look, can you see mine? Does it look right?
Let's see. I think it does look right. I'm trying to, let me gallery view. Okay. I think it looks right.
Okay. I'm kind of lost on where to go next.
Okay. Oh, where are you?
I sewed back through all of the beads on there, the teacups, the cabochon, back through. I went back through the 1 seed bead.
Okay. And then you're going to.
Hold it up again. You can. I spotlighted you, so she should be able to see you better now.
Oh, okay.
Hold it up again.
Can you hold that? Can you hold your beadwork up? Yes, that looks right.
Okay.
That looks right. And then, so I went back through this seed bead.
Right.
And then I continued to sew through that 11-0 demi.
So you're going back through them all again?
No. So what I'm doing is I'm going around the circle, back to the circle from step 1. And I'm sewing towards the right. And I'm sewing through that 11-0 demi, the 2mm fire polish, 11-0 demi, and the 11-0 seed bead from the circle.
Okay.
That was a good question. I didn't clarify that. So I apologize. And you should be there. Coming out of that seed bead. And then you're going to thread an 8-0 demi and a teacup bead. And your needle is going to sew through the rounded side. So do you see, that's a pretty good picture right there. You could see the teacup, how I went through the rounded side.
Okay.
And then you're going to sew through the right side hole of the cabochon that we previously used. just like that.
So when you're doing your second teacup, do you go through the same way? The rounded
Yes,
side
the
and
rounded side
concave?
first,
Okay,
correct. Like that.
okay.
But don't forget to pick up your 8 demi first, then your
Okay.
teacup.
Okay.
And then you're going to pick up another teacup through the concave side. An 8 demi. And then an 11 seed bead. And again, we're going to skip that 11 and sew up through the 8, the teacup, the right side hole of the cabochon, the first teacup we added, and the first 8. And again, pull your thread tight. So now it should look like that. And then you are going to sew again. You see how this thread, oops. Let me pull this out a little bit more so you can see this. Okay. So you see how this thread is coming out this side of the 11 seed bead. When I say the back door, what I mean is we're going to sew through that side of the seed bead. Okay. Then you're going to pull your thread tight. Again, if you see this little thread here, then you just want to pull on your, hold your 11 seed bead and then pull on your thread. Works better with down. There we go. Or you, and that's the first one. And continuing to sew towards the right side, we're going to sew through just the next seed bead. Like that. Okay. And so now we are on step 5, where we repeat step 2 through 4 again, but I will go ahead and show you again. So we're going to pick up size 8 demi, teacup bead, and a cabochon through the left side. and a teacup through the concave side. An 8/0 demi and an 11 fire polish, or 11/0 seed bead, sorry. And I'm going to skip that 11. So through the 8/0 demi, the teacup, the left side hole of the cabochon, the first teacup we added, and the first 8 demi that we added. Okay. And again, oops. We are sewing through the back door of this 11 seed bead from the circle.
I have a mistake, I think.
Okay, let me switch view here. Okay, Rochelle, are you, let's see. Can you hold that up? There we go. That looks right.
Yeah, but look at the thread on where my thumb's at. I got
Okay,
extra
can
thread
you
there.
pinch the 11/0 seed bead on the bottom of the teacup, the last one that you added?
Okay,
Pinch that in between your index and thumb and pull the thread tight. And that should,
okay, got it.
is that working? Okay,
Yes.
and let's see here. And then I just finished up by sewing through, making a mess, but one moment. Seems my thread got tangled up here. There we go. So I just sewed through the back door of the 11 from this circle. And I continue to sew through the 11/0 demi, fire polish, 11/0 demi, and the next seed bead. Like that. You can also consider it the first of the 2 seed beads from around the circle. Hold the thread tight. You want good tension with this. So there. Like that. And then again, I'm going to pick up an 8/0 demi, a teacup through the rounded side, and we're going to sew through the right side hole of the cabochon. And then string a teacup bead through the concave side. An 8 demi and a seed bead. Skip the seed bead and sew through all the beads. And again, the back door of the 11 seed bead from the circle. And the next seed bead. So now it should look like that. And we're going to add one more cabochon. So going to add that the same way as you added the other two. I try to keep it flat on my work surface, but sometimes that doesn't work. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm waiting to see how this turns out because I think I'm wrong.
Oh, no.
I'm on my second one. Or
Okay.
whatever. I'll show you. Well, see, does this look right?
Okay, let me switch view again. Oh, there. Yes, that does look right.
It does?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It looks like it's okay.
And if
All
you
right.
look at figure E,
Yeah.
it looks like that. It looks like you have the, 2 on there.
Oh, I see. So it's gonna go up. Okay, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I'm off here. I think my cabochons are facing opposite directions.
Okay, can you hold yours up, please?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see.
Let me see. It's the best way to.
And when you say your cabochons are opposite direction?
Because I
Well,
think
one.
you're doing a mirror, Lisa, so then I pick up through the left hole and it's really the right hole in my backwards mind. So maybe that's what you did too, Renell? Did you, so one's upside and one's downside?
Right, exactly. One side is flat on facing me, and the other side is round. So
So when you picked it up, you picked it up through the wrong side? Is
yeah,
that right,
must have.
Lisa? or
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did too.
Okay. So I think the cabochon has a rounded side. has this rounded side,
Mhm,
and then it has this flat side. You could see. Is that what
mhm.
you're talking about?
Mm.
So,
Correct.
okay, the flat side should be facing down on your bead mat.
Right. Yeah.
And
from
the
your-
rounded side should be facing up towards you.
So
Right.
if you
Okay.
pick up your cab through the wrong hole to start with, how do you adjust it through the thing?
You would actually have to take it out, take your thread out, and then redo it, unfortunately.
That's what I did too.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I just don't know my rights from my left. And if I'm holding it facing me or holding it away from me, it just changes the perspective. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to keep the flat side of the cabochon on your bead mat or towards your bead mat,
Mhm.
and the rounded side should be facing towards you. So these are, as you can see, these are the flat side and they're inside. And then this is the rounded side. Whoops. So I
depends
apologize
which
for
way
not
your
saying
circle
that.
goes. If you circle to the right, it'll lay this way. If you circle to the left in the first circle, then that's where I flipped it over, I think.
Okay. The other thing too, if you're going to be using a backlit cabochon, this might be easier to see. One moment. So if you have a backlit, you could see that there's the backlit side, and then there is the silver side is the flat side.
So if your thread is going to the left, then you go through the left hole of the cabochon first. Correct? Like if your thread comes out of the circle to the left?
Okay, let me think about this. So you're going out there, then it should be going through the right side first. If your
So-
thread is going towards the left
Uh-huh.
and you're exiting,
The left side of the bead, 2 beads. Then you go through,
if it,
see, that's where I flipped the first circle over. So that's why my thread came out of facing to the right off of the first circle.
yeah,
So
so
then-
if you're going this way,
Uh-huh.
then it should be going toward the right side first.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I get it. Because if you're right-handed or left-handed, you could go either direction from the beginning. You just have to make sure your cabs are all upwards.
Correct. Or the dome side, the rounded side
Right,
is facing upwards. Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that was my mistake. I apologize. I will wait
Oh.
for everybody to catch up. And I'm just gonna finish the last one. When you look at my directions, and that's something I didn't point out in the beginning either, is that when you read my patterns, pay close attention to the pictures for the correct orientation of the beads and which way the thread is going. Because if you start off a different way, then the wording doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's exactly where I did. I looked, so I turned the circle upside down. So now if I hold it the exact way of your picture in your thing, then it would be exactly that way. I get it now. So it's just
Okay.
me going backwards.
No, it's okay.
But it
Everybody
turned
interprets.
out really good. I love it. They're so adorable. They look like little people,
Thank
like
you.
Michelin men, you know?
Oh, that's a good description.
I guess it's aging me a little bit, though. I don't think that commercial's been around for a few decades.
Mm. Yes. Oops.
I've tore mine out twice already too, so don't feel bad.
Oh, no, so sorry. I should have
Well,
clarified that in
it
the
was my own
beginning.
mistake. I didn't do things right, but I'm back to start.
Yeah, no, I should have clarified that in the beginning. I
Well,
just assumed.
I didn't turn mine upside down. What I did was not go through the right beads to start the next cabochon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a self-taught beader. So usually my pictures, I'm, very particular about the pictures in my patterns. The wording sometimes, I try to be really clear with the wording, but my pictures are usually that's how I learned, is through pictures. So I'm a little bit particular, more so with my pictures than I am with the words. So are we all, well, I have to add this last one, so. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Ronell. You go by Ron or Ronell?
Do I have, I'm unmuted. No,
You're unmuted.
sorry. I'm unmuted. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like confused.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I thank you so much for clarifying, and actually you go ahead on. Don't worry. Don't wait up for me. Keep going. Everything, I mean, it makes sense. It's just that I have to make sure I have the orientation of that cabochon. So yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I have to start the whole thing over. I just need to like.
I think you just need to do that one, the
that
second one.
Okay.
Because the first one you have the rounded side up, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's just the second one that
Okay.
you have to do.
Great.
But yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I should have said that from the very beginning. So. Okay, I am just adding the last beads around. So when you get done and you've added the last beads to the last cabochon, you're going to sew through the 2 seed beads from the circle. And pull the thread tight. So this is where you should be. Okay. Oops. I put lotion on my hands before this. And so now when I go to put my hand down, I lay it on the seed beads and I lift my hand up and I have a handful of seed beads. There. Let me see if that's there. Maybe that helps a little bit, the light. Okay, so if you are here with the thread exiting this 11-0 seed bead. If you look on step 6, it says sew through the second seed bead from the circle, and that's where my thread is exiting. And you're going to continue to sew down through the first beads added. So the 8-0 demi, the teacup, the left side hole of the cabochon, the teacup, the 8-0 demi, and it should be exiting through the 11, and your thread should be going towards the right. Okay. So I'm just going to pick this up and I'm going to turn it around because it's easier for me to do it this way. And I'm going to sew through that 8-0 demi, through the teacup, and through the cabochon. And this is where you might have a little bit of a problem trying to get through this second teacup. What I usually do is I just pull that away a little bit so my thread can exit through the cabochon. That makes it easier. And then I pull the thread tight. And then I continue to sew through the teacup and the 8-0 demi. Oops. Let it get caught up for a moment. There we go. So I sewed through the 8-0 demi, and then I'm going to be sewing through that 11. Now I'm going to put it down so you can see I'm exiting the right side of the 11-0 seed bead. Do you want me to do that again? Okay. So, sewing through this second teacup is the tricky one. So like I said, just sew through the cabochon and move the teacup out of the way so your thread can exit, and then continue to sew through that second teacup and the 8-0 demi. Okay. So now we are going to work on closing the beaded bead. Do you want me to wait, or is everybody good?
No, I'm behind.
Okay.
But go ahead. I'm with that fellow there. Don't wait up.
Okay. Were you able to watch as I work my way through that, through the beads?
Well, this is what I have.
Yes. Okay.
Is it right?
Yes. Yep, it is right. Because you have all the flat side of the cabochons facing downwards, and you have the rounded sides facing upwards.
Okay.
And when you go through this, it's important when you close the beaded bead, as you can see on this with the, let me do that. Okay, so this has the backlit. Whoops. Come on, focus. There. So you could see kind of the flat side facing inwards, and then the backlit side facing towards you, which is the rounded side. So
Okay.
that's what we want to do when we close the beaded bead. We want to make sure that the rounded side of the cabochons is facing towards you,
Okay.
and the flat side is in where nobody can see it.
Okay.
So,
I didn't end my thread, but I think I got it.
woo, all right, good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now to close the beaded bead, we're going to string one of each, an 11/0 demi, a fire polish, and an 11/0 demi. And we're going to sew towards the right and sew through this size 11 seed bead. Oops. Just like that. And you can see that this, the string of beads that I just added, should be right below the, should be the same thing as up here in the, when we went around the circle and we added the 11/0 demi, the fire polish and the demi, should be mirroring each other. Okay. We're going to pull the thread tight. And then without picking up any beads, we're going to sew through the 11/0 seed bead from the next cabochon. And that's going to be the first 11, the left, from the left leg of the next bead set. Okay. Hello, Evelyn. She just joined us. So when you pull them together, they should do that. And this, and now you can see where the flat side oops. This is the flat side of the cabochon, and that's facing inwards. And the rounded side is facing outwards.
Okay, Lisa, I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
So I did the demi, the fire polish, the demi, and I sewed through the seed bead. What do I do next? Do I repeat that? Because it just says sew through the next seed bead.
Okay. Yes. So without sewing, without threading any beads, you're just going to sew through that next seed bead from the next cabochon, right?
Okay, so you did, okay.
So you're going to sew through that. And then when you pull the thread tight, it should pull those two bead sets together.
Okay,
And then you're going to repeat step 7 2 more times. So then you're going to pick up one 11/0 demi, one fire polish, and one 11/0 demi. And you're going to, I just call this bead set, where the cabochon is. So that with the same, with the beads strung, you're going to sew through the second size 11 seed bead from the right side leg of that bead set. Does that make sense?
I think so.
That was like that. So I picked up those beads and I sewed through this.
Okay,
And then pulling these together. See how these two, the first and second one came together. And now when I go through the next seed bead from the third set, there, when I pull that, so you can see when I pull it, it kind of wants, the rounded side wants to go in. So I just have to make sure that the rounded side is facing outwards. So when I pull that, it starts to close the beaded bead. And then I'm going to add one last 11-0 demi, fire polish, and 11-0 demi. And then without threading any beads, sew through the first seed bead from the first set. So it's like that. So I just added, this is the last one where I added the beads. Sewed through this side, and then without threading anything, I sewed through the first 11 of this round. Now I'm going to pull the thread tight. And now your bead should be closed. Okay.
Does that look right?
I think, let me, hold on a minute. View gallery. Yeah, that side looks right. I think so. Here's, did you pull the thread tight?
Yeah, I'm pulling tight.
Okay, because it should be round, kind of rounded like that.
Okay, I guess it's right.
Okay, you want to hold it up again, please? Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that looks right.
It does?
Yep.
Wow. I'm amazed.
That one side looks a little bit flat. That's
The teacup on this one side, I think I have to undo it because it's sticking out wrong. I
okay.
think I made a mistake.
Okay.
So I'll have to go take that apart and fix it.
Okay. Because one side looks a little bit flat. And when you do this, you want, it should be kind of rounded.
It might be because that teacup is on there wrong.
It
So
might be.
Yeah, I gotta go back and fix that. But
Okay.
yeah,
So, does everybody see that? Everybody good?
Yeah, I think it's an adorable little beaded bead. I can't wait to make those tassels that you made.
Oh, for the earrings.
Yeah, I thought those were just the most adorable little thing to do. And so yeah, so I made two. They're silver and turquoise.
Nice.
So I'm excited to turn them into tassels.
And then after I added the beads, did the first round, I'm going to sew through all these beads one more time and pull the thread taut, just so they're all cinched together and pulled tight.
Mhm.
You can see there's a little hole on the bottom. And the hole size is, pretty big. So that's why it's good for kumihimo or, a larger rope or a medium-sized rope, I should say. And then once you sew through all the beads a second time, then you're going to secure and end your tail or your working thread and secure and trim, remove the stop bead on your tail thread and secure and trim that. And then you have your little beaded bead.
It's so cute. Thanks
So-
so much, Lisa, for coming up with all these cool things.
Yes, so this is another one that I did with the turquoise and green Southwest colors. So,
And so you have kits for these on your Etsy page, the one it's got all the multiple beaded beads? Or
yes, I have kits for these bracelets, and I have kits for the earrings, and I have kits for the beaded bead sampler. This is a new necklace. It's called the Beaded Bead Sampler. And these all have pretty good size holes. So again, you can use it for kumihimo. Can even, slide it off of this, with the chain on here. You can just slide these beads off. So these work up great. And for the next beaded bead that I'll be doing on March 12th, I made this new bead called the Corset Bead.
Oh, cute.
And this uses gem duos, 3-hole beams, seed beads, and demis, 11-0 demis. I love the demis, and 2mm fire polish.
Super. So
And-
we'll have that information then up
Tomorrow.
on the website soon. And then we'll have samples at Bobby Bead as well. So you can see shortly too.
Yep, starting tomorrow, I will bring these into the shop. And so you'll have these samples.
So cute.
Mhm.
Corsets are so popular in fashion right now. So why not add them to your jewelry as well?
Yes, and I love to play with the different checkmate beads. So I have not designed with the beams yet. So I thought this is a great way to use them with beaded beads.
Yeah, that looks really fun. And then it's got gem duos and some just about I like the way you mix so you can get the bits and pieces in your stash. It's just a few things of this and a few things of that. And
Yes, it uses 10 beams and 10 gem duos.
cool.
And yeah, not a lot of beads, but they're fun to make.
Mhm.
So that will be Saturday, March 12th. And I think we don't have the order yet, do we, Rochelle?
No, Hannah's
Okay.
teaching. I can't remember what she's teaching, something. And then I can't remember. We have Sue Adam Neal coming up, but I think she's in April. I'm sorry. We're just trying to get everything together for the Toho Challenge thing live
On Monday.
on Monday night. So I'm kind of a little bit scattered. And so I know
That's okay. So these will be in the shop, and I will have the supply list, and the pattern will be on the Upper Midwest Bead Society page. And
download. Super.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. And
You're
thanks
welcome.
everybody
And-
who's joining us. Do you have more announcements?
No, I was just gonna say, if anybody, got lost or was trying to redo their beaded bead, they can always email me if they want, if they're stuck on a part, and I will help them through it.
Super. Thank
And
you
this-
so much.
This will also be on the YouTube, or excuse me, Facebook.
Yep, we're on Facebook right now, so we're leaving the video on Facebook forever, so it'll be there. And then we upload these videos from Zoom to our UMBS YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find it in both places in the future.
Great. Then I can stop, repause, keep going. And that's the way I learn. Thank you so much.
You're
got it.
welcome.
Okay, Rochelle, the Toho challenge, is that on Bobby Bead's page on Monday then?
It is on Team Toho Facebook page. And so we are having our live 2021 feature artist gallery extravaganza showcase. So all the featured designers right now from 2021, their pieces are in Tokyo at the gallery on display. And so we've also gotten videos from all kinds of the designers from all over the world that took the challenge. And we'll have several designers with us live to interview several of the Japanese designers. We'll have Iwao, President, CEO of Toho, live with us interviewing the Japanese designers. And so you'll see a virtual gallery tour of their pieces up close, and then hear from them about their inspiration and their experience taking the challenge. Then we'll also have the launching of the 2023 Toho Challenge as well. So during our show on Monday night, we'll be on Team Toho Facebook page from 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And we want you to join us live, and then we're giving away 10 free 2022 mini Toho challenge kits to people who join us live and comment on the show why you love Toho beads so much. And so that's a way to get your first Toho challenge free kit as part of our Monday night giveaway event.
Thank you.
So just a little promo there, but now we have Candy Sexton teaching us crochet. So I'm just trying to find her here. There she is. And so we'll spotlight for everyone. And then I know your tray is around here, Candy. Let's see this one.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
So Candy, let's see. We want to also, there we go. We also want to pin. Let's see. Whoops, nope, cancel. Your other camera's not on yet, Candy. Your phone?
It's not on the camera?
The
Okay.
camera, it's blacked out. Yeah, so
Hmm.
I'm not sure if, I mean, it says you're here. It just says your camera is turned off.
Okay. So it should be set on camera, right? Well, hold on, let me. Okay, I've got it as photo. That's probably not how it should be, huh?
I'm not sure. I can see your face, but I can't find your bead tray. All I
Okay.
see is Candace and a black screen.
Is she using the same camera?
She's using a phone as her second. She signed in
Okay,
twice.
for the second camera, if you go to the bottom where it says mute and stop video on your computer screen, if you click on the arrow on the computer screen,
But it's on the phone. Her face is on her camera or on her computer, and then her tray is on her camera that we're trying to get the picture to.
okay. So I think
Um,
there's a way to switch it. If you go to stop video and then there's a,
should I be doing that?
yes.
Yeah, you have to
Okay,
do it
okay.
so that
So
we
if you
can
go to
get
stop
the
video,
camera on the
you'll
screen.
see that there's one checkbox and then there's another camera. If you're using a second camera that's not checked.
Share.
Logged in twice. There you go. So now you're screen sharing, but I
Okay,
thought we were just signing you in twice. So that you had, your iPhone was signed in to log in.
I'm not seeing it. Says that I'm screen sharing.
Right. I just didn't think we were screen sharing. I thought you were just logging in on your phone.
But, okay, so I'm confused. Do we see both?
No, I just see your face.
Mm.
I don't see your phone with your tray.
I wonder what I did. Ask to start video, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
How's that?
Stop screen sharing a minute.
Okay, stop share, okay.
Okay, so it's this camera. It's up, I'm not sure because it's your phone that we're trying to rejoin the video.
Mm-hmm.
And you started the video?
On your phone? Have you started your video on your phone?
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just had it as camera. Hang on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We practiced
Photo,
earlier
portrait,
and it was
and
working. So that's why
yeah.
whatever our settings were earlier today. I just know that a lot of times cameras turn off because it was sitting there for 2 hours.
Yeah, I think it turned off. Okay,
You
so
might have to re-log back in on your phone.
here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. You seeing anything?
I
Where is
think
that
you
other one?
signed off on your phone. I think you got to re-log back in. I only see you once now.
Um,
Sorry, everybody. We're just
okay.
thank you for all your patience. No worries. No stress.
As Maggie says, we're beaters, we're not techies.
Oh, yeah,
No, it's
absolutely.
okay. It happens.
Okay, so I have
Just ask to
to,
rejoin the meeting on your phone.
all right, the Zoom, okay.
Yeah, we're all learning this new format. It's
There we go. So
Okay.
I just readmitted you.
Oh, good, oh, good, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. All right,
And so,
to here, no, okay, so we good?
okay. Oh, wait, I just saw it. Where did it go? Oh, connecting. There we go.
Yeah?
There we
Ah.
go. There's your bead.
Oh my
tray.
gosh, okay, all right, now I just gotta find it so I can track what I'm doing. Oh, where is it? Oh, I think I saw it. There we are. Okay. How am I able to use that? Oh, you do the like sharing thing, right? Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect.
There
Okay.
you go. Yep. So we've
All right.
spotlighted it for everybody.
Thank you for your patience, you guys. I appreciate it. So my name's Candy Sexton. I'm from Chesterton, Indiana. And I'm going to show you guys how to do some bead crocheting. And there's, I'll talk about how, I'll do a demo of how to do it, but also just some basic tips and basic knowledge that you kind of need to know. And I'm going to show you two different kinds, the more traditional US slip stitch, but I'm also going to show you the single stitch. Some people call it the Euro stitch, but it basically uses a single crochet stitch, which is why depending on what country, it's called single stitch. So so let me go ahead and get going. So what I've got here is some small, and by the way, this is the first time I've done this. So if, you know, things are a little off, I apologize. So right here, I'm showing you some 5 around beginner projects. The reason that they are beginner projects, let me put this one down, is 5 around is 5 beads in the round. Can you see that okay? It's kind of dark thread. And it's easier to crochet with bigger beads simply because there's more to hold. You're working with a thicker thread, and you're also working with a thicker crochet hook. So it's a lot easier to start with these. These are size 6. And this one here is a combination of size 6 and you can kind of see the little smaller beads, size 8s, and that causes it to have that rotation. And I finished these with wonderful handmade focal beads, but you could finish them a different way. This is a nice way I find that, you know, you can actually finish your piece with a focal bead, because a lot of times if you don't do a lot of crocheting, or excuse me, a lot of beadwork, maybe you don't use your focal beads and you buy lots of them like I do. So anyway, so these both of these are 5 beads around. Now this one uses size 8 seed beads, and I have 2 of those. And this one has more beads per round. It's actually a really old piece that I still love to wear. And it's got some little fringes that you put in by hand at the end. But then also this one here has a little bit different finish, and it uses some jump rings and a Nina Designs clasp. So it shows you a little bit different way to finish them. And these are all size 8 seed beads, and this is 5 around. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excuse me, 6 around. Nope, 5 around. That's what I thought. Okay, so basically what you do though is you count how many beads in the round per row, and it's easy. I don't know if you've noticed, this one is solid, but these right here are all the beads are in a row, even though this twists because of the way that the beads are strung on. It's easier to learn with this kind of placement, bead placement, because the same color goes on the top of the previous row. So it's easier to keep track of what you're doing. It's easier not to mess up because you know, for instance, that you've got a yellow bead goes on top of a yellow, a brown goes on top of a brown, that kind of thing. Okay. And then these here, this one has a bit of a twisting pattern to it. And it actually is just in how you place the beads. And that causes that twisting image. And these are size 8, size 11s, and then these are these beautiful Toho number 55s. These are the Aco beads. Okay, so it gives it like it visually pulls it in. And then over here, I'm showing you 2 different ways. These are the Toho Aco beads, and this is finished with a clasp, and these are glued in. And then this is a Tierra cast clasp, and then this is homemade. So I wanted to show you just something a little bit different. These use some Mykonos clay beads, some silver beads, and then some porcelain beads. But then I have 2 little pieces of the crochet, the bead crochet, and these actually are 9 around, and then it's ran through a wire, and it's hand finished. So this is a nice little alternative. And so I want to show you some differences. So these use, by the way, the perma finish, which I absolutely love. I do an awful lot of work in them. And this is a necklace. I don't know if you probably can't see how long that is, but so I want to show you the difference. Now these 2 are 9 around. Okay, you can kind of see those there. And these are size 11 seed beads. These here are the ACOs, even though they're 11s, look at how much thinner it is. And this is 9 around as well. It's really thin. And then this is 5 around. And it's almost as thick as the 9, but remember, it's only 5 beads, right? And then you have these guys, which are the beginning, and these are the size 6 seed beads. So you can kind of tell the difference that way. Okay, and these use different threads. So, and I will put this in the chat. Let me do that right now. I've got some helpful hints for you guys. And this is to everyone. Did you guys see that? Oh, well, sorry, text is really big. So these are the size crochet hooks and thread and stringing needle that you would use. And I will go ahead and show you, but I wanted to just tell you why. So these are size 6 seed beads, and you can see how big they are, right? So let me just close the chat. So you need to have a thread that is big enough that will support this seed bead. So I'm using a really a thicker kind of cording. You see this? This is like an S-line, a C-line, okay? But you also could use a size 10. I don't know if you can kind of see that there. So see how thick it is though? That will be able to support these larger beads. Whoops, sorry. Okay. And then also, one other thing is, and I'll show you, but you have what's called the long eye needle. And that's what this is here. And you would actually string on your piece. First, I'll show you guys in a minute. Okay, getting ahead of myself. So far, do we have any questions about different types of thread and things like that?
I think the question that I had was, you said you put something in the chat?
Yeah,
Information.
I put some helpful hints. So it's what size crochet hook, what size thread and stringing needle to use.
Did you do it to everyone? Because I don't
Yeah.
see that either.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
I
There we go.
see it.
Is it?
It's
No.
the address. So
Oh,
it's
that's my Etsy shop.
Lisa's Etsy. So yeah,
Lisa Bead Designs.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what's in the chat.
yeah,
Okay.
you haven't done it yet, Candy, or something. It didn't go through.
Okay. All right. Let me just do. I'm gonna do the word crochet hook to everyone.
Oh, here
Everybody
it
see
is.
that?
Okay, there we go.
Oh, there they
There it
are.
is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. And I do apologize. It seems like the text is really large. Okay. Getting back to the threads. So in the hints, you'll be able to see it. But this one here actually uses a thinner thread. I know, and I apologize that it's so dark. You can't really see it. But here I have one. So this one here is 2, 4, 6 around, and it shows a little bit thicker, or excuse me, a little bit thinner thread than this here. Can you kind of see the difference? So this one is a cording or a size 10, and then these are size 8 seed beads, and this uses a 20 weight thread. You could also use a 30 weight, which I've got right here. Okay. I use a mostly Elizabeth brand thread. It's hhtatting.com. The reason that I use it is primarily because out of almost all of the ones that I've tried, and I've tried just about really all of them, it doesn't fray. It's mersized, so it's like a slicker type of cotton, but it's 100% cotton. It does stretch over time, but not too bad. But the reason that I like it is because it does not fray very easily at all. And that's a huge deal when you've got that, you know, that crochet hook going back and forth. And on this one here, you can kind of see how, do you see how these, first of all, the beads are standing up, and I'll get to that in a minute, but you could kind of see the tube there. It's kind of hard to see. Is that, it's not too close. Okay. So there's a little tube in there that it forms up. But this is a 20 weight thread and size 8 seed beads. And then I have a 40 weight thread. Sorry, my arms are just going around here. So this is a variegated thread. I like to use it for different types of projects. That shows off the thread, but this is a 40 weight thread. So let me just show you. So I've got here's a 20 weight thread, and here's a 40 weight, and it should show you pretty, I think, clearly. You guys can see that for the difference. This is much thinner. So sort of like with beads, the bigger number you get, the thinner it is, or in the case of beads, the smaller it is. Okay, and then we have one left, which is a 80 weight thread. These are the cutest little things. They're called, it's majestic, and my supplier, which is the HH Tatting Handy Hands, they don't carry this anymore, but they have their own brand, which basically is the same thing, but this is an 80 weight thread. What I use this for, if you remember, I mentioned how you really do need to match up the thread and the size bead. I use it for these ACOs and delicas because you can't get your thread, think about it, this size thread does not go through these beads very easily. And also you want it to be really tight on these cylinder beads. And that's really about the only way you can get it, is to have a thinner thread. Okay, you could use a 40 weight thread, but not as successfully. Okay, any questions so far? I'm going to go ahead and get a demo going. Okay, so here are, I think I'm going to flip my camera. Let's see. Is that okay? Maybe better? No. Okay, sorry guys, let me go back. Okay, that's a little bit nicer. It's a wider view. Okay, so let me also bring back the one project that really shows the beads well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to string these and how to crochet it. Okay, and stop me if you guys have questions. I'm not really looking at my computer screen much, so if you've got, just go ahead and yell it out loud. So these are the basic tools. You will need a crochet hook. So there are different crochet hooks and different manufacturers. Tulip makes some nice ergonomic ones. This is a size 14. Here's a size 10. These are clovers. These are nice. And then also, if you have like Bates crochet, oh gosh, you can't even see them. If you've got Bates crochet hooks, they've got these little sponge thingies, and I'll tell you, it will save your hands. And this is a really, really old crochet hook. It's a size 7. So you can kind of see the difference here. This is a 14, this is a 10, and then you have the 7. Okay, so for this one, I use the size 7 crochet hook, and I'm going to use some cording, and then I'm going to string on the beads. Oh gosh, there we go. So sorry that sometimes I'm getting out of the camera view. I've got as my what I call my beginner toolbox, I've got a long eye needle, which is pretty long. This is the long version. There are shorter versions, and for the shorter version, it's about this size, this long. And the reason that I use both is because I can get a lot of the larger size 6 seed beads on here, but it becomes kind of unwieldy when you've got the smaller beads, the size 11 seed beads. So I use the smaller version, which probably you guys are very familiar with if you've done any kind of well, bead crochet work, but also any other kind of maybe kumahimo. The big eye needle is really nice. And then I've got locking stitch markers, and I'm showing you two different kinds. These are crochet and yarn kinds of things. I have a nice pin, and the pin does not, it's almost like a tapestry kind of pin. I use it to pick apart pick apart the thread if it's gone into, like if there's a bead that's kind of sitting what I call wonky, I can go in to my tube as I'm crocheting, and I can just pop it out with this pin. It's really nice that way. And then I have a tapestry needle, which is very necessary. This is a 20 size, excuse me, a 24 size. Nope, this is a 20 size. You could use 20 or 24, but oh, here's the other size. Okay. But you want to be able to go, especially with the beginners, it has to be able to go in and out of the bead there. See how I'm pushing it through? There. Okay, so I'm pushing it through so that I can actually go back and forth with my thread, and I'll show you in just a sec. And then of course you've got your cute little shovel, but then you also have a medium-sized bobbin, and the bobbin will be indispensable for you. So I kind of showed you here, I wrap my thread around it, but you will also wrap your pre-strung beads on it. Something that's a little different about crocheting is that you absolutely have to string your beads ahead of time. So when you have your pattern, all of your beads are going to be pre-strung. So let me go ahead. Any questions so far? Okay. So I'm going to pull apart my long eye needle. This one has been used quite well. And then I'm going to double it up and slide it down to the bottom there. Yep. Okay. Now I've already strung a few of the beads on, as you can see. So I've put them in order of stringing to make it so much simpler. So I'm going to pick up a white and a blue, and then this orange, stop sign orange. So I'm just going to keep going on. And this would be 6 around. So 1, 2, 3, whoops. And see why it's better to have it long, because you can really you can push them down, and then 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to slide it down. Now, something else too, to think about, you have to be able to double up your thread. So if you are trying to use cording with a size 11 seed bead, it's not going to work, because you have to have that cording. You have to have it doubled, and it won't go through the bead. And really, when it's doubled like this, sometimes it has trouble with the size 6s. Okay, so you just remove it. And I'm going to go ahead and make a little slip knot at the tail, because I don't want any beads to slip off in case I set my work down. Now, if you've done any kind of crocheting, one of the things you'll notice is that, I'm going to slide this down just a tad. There we go. So you'll notice that I hold my thread very similar to regular crocheters, but however you're comfortable with, feel free to hold your thread that way. So I wrap it once around my pinky, I go across my ring finger, my middle finger, and then I bring it around my index finger like that. Okay. And So the first row, what you'll do is you will capture your beads in chain stitch. And because it's 6 around, I will do 6 beads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, a lot of times, as a beginner, one of the things you will need to do is you're going to need to maybe only slide 1 bead down at a time, and that's okay. All right, so I made a slip knot. Did you guys see that? I'll go a little slower. So I wrap the thread around my index finger and push it up through the loop. Okay, and then I've got my tail over here. And for speed purposes, I'm going to slide these down. But again, sometimes it might be a little hard for you to do that. And I'm wrapping the beads and I'm bringing them over my finger. Now I hold my working thread, excuse me, my tail right now, but I'll hold my working thread with my thumb and my middle finger. Okay, so I slide a bead down and I'm going to chain stitch. So I would bring my crochet hook from the front to the back and pull through. I'm going to slide the next bead down. I go from the front to the back and pull through. Then I'm going to slide some more beads down. Whoops. Front to the back, pull through. And can you guys sort of see there's a V forming in the back there, and that'll be kind of important. All right, front to the back. And front to the back. And front to the back. And now I'm going to join. See how it's starting to turn left? I'm righty, but a left-hander, it'll turn the opposite direction. It'll be like that. Okay, so I have to join this. So I am going to go into the back of this V, and I'm going to go to the on the top one, and I am going to join the thread by doing a beadless stitch. So now it's joined. Okay, first rows are the most difficult to do. So I'm going and this is slip stitch again. And one of the things that makes slip stitch a little bit different is you put your crochet hook into the loop with the bead that you want to crochet into from your previous row. So I'm on orange. So I'm going to put my crochet hook into the orange loop. You kind of see there. And then it's very important to do this. I'm going to flip it over. Okay, and then I see 2 loops. Now I'm going to put my thread in between the 2 loops so that it positions the bead here. See how it's in the 2 loops? And then I'm going to position the bead on top of the previous row. And then I'm going to do a yarn over and pull through. Go to the next one. I put my crochet hook in the loop with the blue bead and push that bead over. And then now it's easier to have your thread positioned in between the 2 loops, in between the bead where you want to place your new one and your previous one. See that there? So I'm going to slide it down. And now I'm just, see how I'm kind of moving my finger up? This is actually one of the biggest differences of how to hold your thread. A lot of crocheters will hold their thread like that. It can be a little difficult. Some of the people that have had trouble, one of the things, you know, because they're crocheters, yarn crocheters, is I tell them, it's all about the placement of this finger. So I'm going into the next bead. My thread's in between the 2 loops. I slide that bead down and see how I'm moving my finger up, because it's totally positioning where the bead lies, the new bead that you want it to go in. Okay. Again, put that crochet hook into the loop, slide the new bead down. By the way, this is not that simple to do. It took me a long time. And so don't feel bad if you can only like hold one bead at a time in your hand. Just have some patience. So it goes down in between the two loops. Bring it around. There we go. Okay. Blue on top of blue. This is why you do these colors like this, so that it makes it easier for you. Some of the things that you can watch out for is, let me show you. So I've got a white, and if my finger isn't positioned right, if it's down, what happens is the thread goes underneath. Can you guys sort of see that? It's hard to see. It's not positioned right. Sorry, you guys can't really see that all that well. But what'll happen is the thread and the bead goes under, and that's how you have two beads next to each other, as opposed to one on top of the other. Again, I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see that. Okay, so let me show you what this will look like. So this here shows and this is my locking stitch marker, by the way. This is my working thread. So what I have here is the working thread, okay? And when I'm done and I want to pause my work, I'm going to put a locking stitch marker on my working thread and that working loop so that it doesn't come out, okay? Tighten it up there, all right? And this is a working piece. Actually, this goes out with beginner kits. I do a beginner tube. So, and when I teach classes, I give you a beginner tube so that you can practice. So you basically would slide this out. So let me show you okay, so this is the side of the tube. See how they lay really nice against each other? Okay. And this is the top of the tube. All right. So your beads are the top of the tube. The beads are in a horizontal, or excuse me, what I call a vertical position. Okay. And you can really see it on the side. See how they're positioned differently? So these all should be sitting horizontal. And these, if it was there, it's been sitting a bit, but they'll be vertical, okay? So that's also how you know where your top is. And this is what your bottom looks like, okay? If your bottom, if you start to get a little discombobulated when you first start, sometimes you end up flipping your work around so that your tail ends up in your work and through here. So you don't really know where you're at. What you can do is, oops, I'm sorry. Okay, so you can get just a heavier bead. This happens to be a, just, you know, some beach glass kind of thing. But what I do is I would weight down my table, just excuse me, weight down my tail. Okay, so you just tie it in a little slip knot kind of thing. Because you want a long tail so that you can finish your piece, because you go back and forth quite a bit. So you want a long tail, maybe 6, 8, 10 inches, certainly not 6, probably 8 to 10 inches, okay, to give yourself some room. But all right, let's pretend that this thing is done, but it's gonna weight down the tail. Ugh, you guys, can you see that? If this was hanging down, it would actually weight that tail down, and so it's not going to flip up on you. And you also can just pull it down and it sort of realigns the beads. Okay. Okay, so that is slip stitch. So let me, first, are there any questions? No. Oh, let me point something out too. Here, this is a tulip twisted needle. And this tulip needle is what I use for the thinner 80 weight thread because your thread has to be doubled. I did mention that. And so this has to get through those really tiny little seed beads, right? So when I double up my thread, then I can put in my 8-goes and 15s. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and I'll show you some examples of the single stitch. The single stitch, the biggest difference is you can make much larger circumference pieces. So this is actually a necklace and it uses the Toho perma-finish beads. But let me show you some bracelet options. This one, oops, sorry. This one here uses size 8 seed beads and then it uses size 11. I primarily use size 11 seed beads because, you know, quite frankly, it's really hard to crochet with 15s. And also, I don't know if you can tell, but like this would be let me show you. So this would be a typical pattern, maybe not typical, but because it's got lots of fun crystals in it, right? And it's a leaves and stars pattern of mine. But then, so this is what I'm known for, where I have a lot of color work. It's actually not that difficult to string because there's no like, see how here you've got this design, but you're working in verticals and horizontals. So it's actually pretty simple to string, even though it looks complicated, but I do an awful lot of color work. I use 9, 10, 12 colors in my projects. So that kind of thing, it's going to require a lot of different colors, and it doesn't work well in different size seed beads. So let me just show you. So this is an 18 around, so you can see that it's pretty thick. This is 16 around. This is not a good example to show you, and I'll show you why. So this here, this is a 16 around. This is the ombre bracelet that was in Bead and Buck magazine. And do you see the difference? See how much thicker this is than this? And they use a 40 weight thread. Okay. And then I'm going to show you, this is a 20 around. So you can see, again, there's a big difference, right? And then this one is an in progress piece. And boy, this is a size 15. These are all the Toho semi glazed beads. Oh my God, I absolutely love them. But it's not, in my opinion, as stunning as these are, because the colors, yeah, you can see the colors, but it's just my opinion. And also something that I do that's a little bit different is this is kind of, it's, even though it looks like it's twisting a little, these are straight lines, and it's a design pattern that you would work on that actually makes it straight versus, you know, the twisting pattern like this, where you've got the same color bead on every single one. Okay, so this is a 20 around. All right, look at the difference between the two. So that's a 20 around and that's a 20 around. But this one here, this is 16 around, and this is a 16 around. And I did crochet this one loose, but it is, these are delicates, and these are size 11s. So this here, I use the 80 weight thread, okay? And I also use the little tulip big eye needle to put them on because it's so much thinner. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so let's get into the demo. Oh, one more thing. So this is how, remember I told you that we use these So I pre-strung a section because this is a necklace. So the semi-glaze is going to be a necklace. So I pre-strung some beads, a section of them, and then I just wrap it around there, and then I've got my beads. It doesn't get tangled, and I can easily just unwrap it. And what I do too is I'll see how I've got gaps in between where the thread is and more beads and that's so I can just kind of keep crocheting along. And yeah, that way I'm not constantly, because it's not just this one. Let's say that I've got this section here, right? Oh dear. Yeah, I got lots of thread. Sorry about that. Well, okay. I'm not going to unravel it all, but let's say that I'm crocheting my last bead, right? The last grouping of beads. And then let's say that this was all together, and then I've got a huge stretch that I have to move down the line. Okay. If I'm having to move all these beads, oh, terrible shot. Sorry. If I'm having to move all my beads down the line for even a bracelet that is 120 rows or 110 rows, it's going to take you a long time to unfurl this thing and move your beads down. Plus, it adds an awful lot of stress on your thread, because you figure it's not just moving it down one grouping, you're moving it down all the time. This is another reason why I like that Elizabeth thread, because it doesn't fray and it doesn't break. It's very, very strong and a dependable thread, which is what you need. Okay, so let me put that away and I'll go ahead and get going. So I'm going to use the same beads that I did. And now I'm using size 6. You could use size 8. However, either way, you should practice doing the stitch with these thicker beads, because this, and you start out with a netting, what I call a netting section. Okay. You see how thin this is? That section is going to be difficult for you to do. By the way, you would start out with size 11 seed beads. You'd start out with a project like this, okay? But you start out with a netting section first, and then you actually start crocheting your beads. And again, they're all pre-strung. So let me go ahead and show you this. We've got about maybe 15, 20 minutes, do you think? Rochelle, do you think so?
You can
Like
take as
15?
much time as you want. Don't go for it. I mean, the unicorn tears only takes like a half an hour. So go take as much time as you want.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
else we can just be late. You know, what else do we have to do today? It's cold outside.
It is cold out. I don't know about you guys. We actually have sun, but usually that's like a misnomer, because it's 5 degrees when we have sun. Okay, so I'm going to start out the same way, except I am going to do the single crochet stitch. And this netting section serves the purpose of not only actually gives you something to hold on to as you're crocheting these, but it allows you to have your clasp attached. I really, really like these magnetic clasps. There's variations of them, but I do really like them for these bigger pieces. It's a cleaner finish, in my opinion. But also what I like to do is I will do these kinds of clasps occasionally. But it kind of depends. These are very much more of a choker style. Am I still on camera? I can't see it because I'm focusing, but these are more of a choker.
Down to the left.
Okay. So these are choker style that I'm making. You can make it longer. I have a friend in Australia. Oh, thank you. I have a friend in Australia who makes them actually really long, but she makes them about 14 around. This one let me show you. This one here is actually 14 around. And then it goes to 16 around. So you can kind of see how it went up a little bit. And then it increases here from 16 to 18. And then it goes from 18 to 20 in this bottom section. And then it starts, nasty decrease, by the way. Starts to decrease and decreases all the way back to 14. But the point being, that you can make like this 14 section much longer, and it looks really, really nice. It's not too heavy, but it's also not overpowering, because I think, you know, if you've got, okay, so if you've got something that's really, really, well, I can't show you, I'm sorry. If you got something that's really, really long, it's gonna almost overpower you, but to each his own, right? Okay, so I'm off again. You're gonna see my kitchen. Can you just shut that thing off?
I will.
Thank you. Alrighty, so clasps, you guys. So this is the smaller beads, and it uses a 10 millimeter clasp. Okay, but let me just show you. So this here is a 10, this is another 10 millimeter clasp. And then this is a 12 millimeter clasp. And the reason that you use different ones is because of how big or small this netting section is, and you want it to kind of match, yeah, oh gosh, sorry you guys, kind of match the circumference of the piece. Because if it was too big, it does not fit inside this tube area. So, you know, you've got, this is where usually the magnet's at. You've got this hole on the inside, and the netting has to fit inside the area. Okay. So in my instructions, whenever I sell these kits or I teach the class, one of the things is you get workshop instructions. It talks about how to finish this piece, because there's no point in, you know, it's great that you crochet it for so many hours, but then you want to be able to finish it and wear it. And I use E6000, and I do talk about that in the instructions. And the reason I use that one as opposed to a quicker drying is because you need to be able to kind of manipulate this thing inside here. And so you need it malleable and movable, and you don't want it to you know, dry really fast, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got something that's looking like that, just really nasty. Okay. Okay, and also I will have the workshop instructions available to the Upper Midwest Bead Society. I'm going to be teaching just a beginner type class in March. So please watch for that on their calendar. Okay, so, and this is the size 12. All right, any questions about these? You can peyote around these, which kind of makes it for a nice finish, or you could just leave them blank. Okay, so let's get going. All right, so I'm going to crochet this netting. So I did that little slip knot there. So the crochet stitch, I'm holding it the same way. Crochet, single crochet is you do 2 yarn overs. Now the first row is the same as far as the amount of stitches as the around, the circumference, the number of beads in a row. So
You
I'm
need
going
to
to actually,
You need to be up further. Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry, gosh. Okay, thank you. If I do that again, please just warn me quickly. I'm sorry. So I'm going to do beadless chain stitches, and I'm going to do 9 of them. Because again, this is not going to have any beads on them. So I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, it kind of forms that V at the back there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm doing 9 primarily because I want to show you guys. And then I'm going to close it by going into, you could either go into the knot or the first stitch, but if you're going to go into the first stitch, you actually have to add another one, because this one does not have any kind of bead on it. All right, so this will give me, right now I've got 9. So the first, that's your first row, but then you go into the second row and we're actually going to do the stitch. So you want that tail down, and I'm holding with my thumb and my middle finger, and I'm going to go into the stitch above. So it's like in between. See how this forms like a circle? You're going to go in between the 3 threads. So there should be 2 threads on top and 1 on bottom. But frankly, it's easier to see the one on the bottom. So I'm going to go through, I'll have 2 loops on my crochet hook. I'm going to do 1 yarn over and go through just 1 loop. I will have 2 loops on my crochet hook, and I'm going to do another yarn over and pull through both. Okay, so that's my first stitch. Then I'm going to go to the next stitch. So the next stitch is actually right here, and I'm going to go underneath, above 1 stitch or 1 thread, and in between 2. You can kind of see it there, I'm sorry. And the instructions have really good pictures on them because I use a really thick, almost a yarn. So I've pulled through once. I'm going to pull through a second time. Okay, now you might think that this is where you're going to go next, but you don't, because your loop, your working loop that you just made is actually right in there. See that? So I'm going to go to the next one. Yep. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, my little earpiece fell out. Okay. So I'm gonna get going a little faster on this. 1, 2. And do not worry about how, you know, how loose your tension is or something like that. Try one thing that I do, a little trick that I learned a long, long time ago. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but sometimes I go down like that with my hook. That's automatically loosening my work so that I'm not crocheting too tight and absolutely killing my hands. Because I mean, what happens is if you crochet too tight, you actually cannot get your crochet hook into the next row, which is, you know, it's another drag. But it does, it really destroys your hands if you crochet too tight. Ah, good, we have a really good view of those the 2 threads. So I come through, go through 1, 2. All right, and I'm gonna do it again over here. 1, 2. All right, and then now let's see. So see where this tail is? It's over here, right? So I know that I've got another stitch that I have to make in order to get over there. 1, 2. And then now I want to count them just to make sure. So see how I'm kind of holding it open. And also on my Instagram feed and my page and my Facebook business page, I've got close-up images of this. But see how, so this is 1 stitch right here. See how that V is showing up? 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, yep. Sorry guys, I know this is hard to see. But then you can also turn it on its side. 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? 9 is right, and I'm coming out of that stitch. So I am just going to kind of speed things up because I want to get to a point where I can show you how it looks, okay? So see how that V is at the top again? I am going in, and it's going to be hard to see until I'm kind of a little bit further along, and I'm sorry that this is, it just, that's how it is, it curls. So I want to go into the 2 loops right here. There we go, pull it. Then I'm going to do the stitch again where I have one yarn over, and then I have that second yarn over. Then I'm going to go into this one. Am I still there? Okay. One yarn over, second yarn over. All right, and then here's the next one. One yarn over, second yarn over. Let me just pick up a little bit of speed because I just want to get this row done so that I can show you what it looks like. And then, okay, there's that one. And coming out of there, so my next one is here. So what it's doing is it's actually starting to form up. And I'm purposely crocheting pretty as loose as I can. I am famous, unfortunately, for dropping a stitch in this netting section. If you do that, it's pretty simple to just double it up. So I would just go back into the same stitch that I was in and make another one. Because you want, so this is 9 around. So I absolutely want to have 9 base row beads, or excuse me, base row stitches so that I can start my bead work on here. Okay. So I'm back to where my tail is almost. See that? Let me get, okay. All right, let me just take a tool just to show you. I'm going to go off camera for just a sec. So I want to put this through. All right. So it's a little hard to see, unfortunately, here. But if you guys come to there we go. You can kind of see right there. If you guys come to the Bead Society meetup, you'll be able to see this. That's my working loop right there. But see how there's this, it's starting to kind of form up. So there we go. You can see it a little better on the side. These are the stitches. And I know it looks like gobbledygook right now, right? I think I also dropped a stitch. All right, let me go ahead and start putting the beads on, okay? So flip my tail down. I'm going to go into a
You're
loop.
off camera again, Candy. Go, there you go.
Excuse me, thank you. I'm going to go into a loop underneath the 2 threads. I brought a bead down. I'm going to do my first yarn over and second yarn over. Now, the biggest difference is I don't go into, now I have to double this up. I do not go into a loop with a bead, and I'll show you on this next row, okay? 2. Yeah, I'm gonna have to double up quite a bit. So bad. 3. At least I know this about myself. Okay, maybe I'll just do 6. 4. 5. Oof, this is not going to be good. I got to do more. 6. So the reason that I want to do either 6 or 9 is because of these colors, because I want them to match up. Okay, so there's 6. 7. 8. In this beginning, like with most of bead crocheting, it's a little difficult, but now you can kind of see the beads. I pulled them out a little bit for you. Okay, so And also when you're starting like this, you could use size 8 seed beads and cording. These happen to be 6s. Okay, and then one more. Whoop, 2 more. 1, look, 1, 2, sorry, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9.
Candy, your picture
Yes.
just went away. I think your phone might have lost battery or something, but the picture just went black, or else it turned itself off, but the camera just went black.
Okay, hang on.
No worries. I know it happen once in a while to when you're on a phone because it's like inactive for a period of time. There you go.
Oh, okay. How weird. But all right, later. No audio, right? And then I will go down.
There you go.
Who knows why, right?
Yep.
Jeez, okay. All righty. So thank you guys for your patience. I'm almost done. So I've got, so notice I have, oh, sorry, I have this orange bead. That's my last one, and I will have 9 on. Ugh. 1, 2. Something too is I end up with my finger down here on this style of bead crochet instead, because I don't have to position the bead down. Let me show you why. So with slip stitch, what happens is you've got your, remember we went into the loop where the bead is, right? And we did like a bead flip. Well, we don't do that with single crochet. You actually go underneath the stitch. So see how I've got that V right there? It's just to the left of the bead that you're actually working on. So it's blue on top of blue. And I pull through. And then I do a second stitch. So let me show you that again. So see how this bead is captured right here with the 2 loops. And again, it's something that you'll have to just work on. But see, as I get further along, you'll be able to tell. See how we've got that like V thing back there? You see that right there? So that's where I'm actually going into. So I've got a white bead. And I went just to the left of the white bead with my crochet hook under the 2 loops. And then I'm grabbing, the bead is on top of the other one, and I'm just pulling through with 1 yarn over. I go and I have 2 loops on, and this is my second yarn over, and I pull through both. All right, let me do that again. So I'm going under 2 threads. Let me just try something real quick so that you guys can see this a little better. Sorry, I know my arm is up, but there we go. Okay. Now, can you kind of see this a little better? See underneath there. On my Facebook page, it's Candace Sexton Jewelry. I've got really good photos of actually pulling this stuff away to show you where to crochet. It's a little bit tight, unfortunately. But let me get one more row in. I'll do it really quickly for you guys. I'm gonna go underneath. And underneath. One of the things about this is once you get going, which is like with slip stitch crocheting, this is actually an easier stitch compared to slip stitch because you don't have to worry about where your bead is located. You don't have to worry where the thread is. You don't have to worry about, you know, if the bead is on top of the other one kind of thing, because it just sits to the side. Okay. So this is what it's going to start to look like. It looks a little like wonky, right? Kind of uneven. But what happens is when you are working on the piece, it ends up sitting just at this angle. You see how, see how the beads are all just kind of sitting at an angle versus either perfectly vertical or horizontal. Let me show you. Okay. So it's the same even color because I love these colors. So see how these are all sitting at an angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Okay. But these are horizontal and they stack really nicely. So that's the big difference. And these can make a larger circumference piece versus smaller circumference. And it's because you've got this netting structure on the inside of your piece. Okay. Whoops. You've got this netting structure on the inside of your piece. So it allows to have a much bigger piece and you have support versus slip stitch where you don't have any support on the inside because the bead is just sitting on top of the other one. So that's the primary difference. You can go 9, 10, sometimes 12 around with these as opposed to, and that's usually about it because they do collapse and I've tried, it does collapse. But these I can go as small as 12 around, but the reason that you can't really go too much smaller is because look at this, right? See how much thread is in there? So even though this is much thicker thread, if you're doing 12 beads around, you're going to end up with a lot of thread on the inside of your tube. And it makes it not only difficult to crochet, but it's not, believe it or not, it's not very supple. Okay, one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. And that is, where's my, okay, so I stuff my projects. And this is what's called Bolo Cord. It's a cotton cording. You can get it at Joann Fabrics or whatever. And I tape the ends. Actually, I just tape the piece that I want to cut, and then I cut in between so that this taped end, it holds its shape, okay, and it doesn't fray. This is starting to fray a little bit, but not much. So what I'm going to do though is I take a wire and I tape it around. I push it through the piece and pull that wire all the way to the very end, okay? Pull the wire through gently and it will feed the bolo cord through. Okay, because believe it or not, you're not going to be able to stuff it. It gets stuck and that kind of thing. But I don't crochet very tight. Some people, they don't need the bolo cording because they're crocheting really tight. That's not me. So I stuff all of my pieces because let me show you. So this one, it's 20 around, but look at what's happening. It's like reminds me of an alligator, real flat, right? So it should be kind of puffed up a little, but it's not. It's very flat because again, I crochet really loosely and I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like it should and show off all the beads. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
There is one question from Anita. How many beads do you string on your thread beforehand for a bracelet? Because you did it all.
Yeah. Okay. Do you am I back in the camera again? I don't see myself.
Let me pin you back up here. There you go.
Okay. So okay. So the question was, how many beads do you put on for a bracelet? So it's how many rows do you put on? So depending on the bracelet. So for instance, the thicker single stitch, about anywhere from 120 to 130 rows. Okay, and it does all fit on one of these little bobbins. It'll fill up the bobbin, but it does fit. And I just, like I said about how I just string them out, you know, I put the beads around it and kind of string it through so that you don't have any issues when you're trying to crochet the piece. with the, let's see,
So that's
Uh,
130 rows. So that'd be 130 times 8 or times 6 or times 9. Is that correct?
or 20.
Or 20? Okay. So
Yeah.
however many rows times the amount
Yeah.
of beads you're gonna go around.
Yep.
That's what, okay, cool. That makes
Yeah, yeah. And then, and also how I measure my wrist. So how I measure my wrist is with these, you don't want it to necessarily like I make them big because I'm making my samples. So you can kind of see it's really sort of loose, and it depends on how you like to wear it. So you don't really, when they've got this kind of clasp, you just have to make sure that it's going to sit where you want on your wrist. So it's pretty easy. This one, for instance, if I'm going to do a closure, not a good example. Let's say that I'm going to do a closure like this. Okay. This one is a Halloween bracelet, which almost all these are on my website, by the way. So I'm going to do a Halloween bracelet. Now look at how difficult it is for me to slide over, right?
Mhm.
But here is the widest part of my wrist. So if you close your hand, look at how I'm just holding my fingers, and I close my hand as tight as I can get it, the bracelet has to go over the widest part of the hand. So it's at the pinky and like where that bone between your thumb and your first finger there, that's the area that it has to go over. So you don't necessarily want to measure your wrist. Okay, see, it sits there just with a little bit of give, but you absolutely have to have it roll over, and this one's a little tight, but that's what you do is you roll them on. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have that measurement.
Are there different sizes of the Bolo cord depending on how many rows around you have?
Well,
like if you have
yeah.
9 rows versus 20
Yeah.
rows, there's different sizes of the Bolo cord?
Yes, there is. So this is a 1/4 inch Bolo cord for these 16 around. I can get this in, okay, but you could use, I think it's a 3, it's like one size below, so I think it's a 3/16 they also have, but they also make thicker stuff. There's one size up from this, but that would be for something that's, like this one where you've got, like that 20 around section and maybe an 18. Like in the 20 section, I used a really kind of a thicker cord. It's like 2 sizes up from this.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll see there's a lot of the Europeans, they make really big pieces, big circumference pieces. And I don't know how they could do it without stuffing it, but maybe they can, I don't know. But some people stuff it with the Bolo cording, this cotton, and it's readily available and cheap. Some people actually use like a netting material, and they run like some, not the Bolo cording, but they like stuff it with like that pillow stuffing and stuff. I personally have not tried that. I know someone that does, and she swears by it, but I mean, this is easy. You can go and get it at Joann's or whatever, and you just run it through with a wire, and then I talk about in my instructions, I talk about how you finish it, and let me put it under here. But yeah, so this one is a bad one, by the way, so I should show you what bad looks like. But you can see normally it would be butted up against the beads, but this is a little bit too small of a closure for the amount of netting that I did. So you can kind of see how the netting is poking out. But in any event, yeah, so it is excuse me. So what I'll do is I actually run this Bolo cording up to the tip of the netting section. Okay, so it sticks up above here, and the reason that it sticks up above here, and the reason that I do that is because when I put my glue on, my adhesive, I want it to really fill up this area as well as the outside of the netting, so that when I stick it in, it's got something to adhere to. It gives it that, you know, that support structure that the cap needs. Any other questions?
There's one from Gail about the pin you spoke about at the beginning that was not sharp. Is it
Yeah.
already like that, or did you file off the point, or what? What?
Oh, let me show you that. So all this is I think like, you know, I'm terrible. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a tapestry needle kind of thing, but it's really not sharp at all. Like, here's a tapestry needle and it's not sharp, but you can see it's a lot thinner, right? Whoop, here we are. You can kind of see that it's so much thinner. You can get a whole little container of these. There's like, I think 16 in it at really like a crochet supply place. But these are also like those pins that you get for like doing macrame or something like that, that you like can poke in. It's just not, it's not sharp at all. And it's wonderful because I can just, like, I can put my crochet hook all the way down in here and just pop out a bead that is like an errant bead that collapsed on the inside, or I didn't crochet it right. So it helps a lot.
Versus using an awl.
You could use an awl too, yeah. It's just that these are really handy to put into like a little teeny travel kit, you know, just like a little teeny box kind of thing, plastic box. And it's great for me to just take these along because I do this. This is the best, other than maybe yarn, you know, regular crocheting. This is the best bead work to take on an airplane. This is one of the things, I did a lot of traveling, and it was one of the things, other than liking the shape of them, it was why I kind of latched on to crocheting back in like 2003, I think, because I could take it on an airplane, and I had to be careful about the scissors. I had to be careful about the long eye needles. So I would just string a couple projects and I would take it on an airplane, and it was perfect because beads are not going to go anywhere. One thing that I learned too is put a rubber band around here, okay, so that it will hold your here's one. There we go. It'll hold your thread in place. I have had one of these go down the aisle of an airplane. It was not cool, okay? I was like mortified, and you know, it's just rolling and rolling, and it's like, oh my God, it's never gonna end. But yeah, and that's the honest truth. I had it on an airplane. That's all I needed. Then I, you know, I learned I got to put a rubber band around these goofy things. So
that's funny.
You could also, yeah, you could also put it in a bag, you know, whatever, but yeah. Okay. Let's see, any other questions maybe? Let's see. These crazy ladies want to go to another bead. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's people down in Tucson still in Arizona for the warmth. So
Candice, Candice, I'm sorry for interruptions. A couple minutes ago, you mentioned that you didn't know how the Russian European ladies stuffing this white rope. So I can tell you, they have a little trick.
Okay.
What they're doing when they go to the very white part, they usually will do couple inches of rope, and they stuffing this with something like a centipon or something like that.
Oh.
They just simply stuffing inside the tube on the way when they beading.
As
Couple
they're
inches
going.
done, they stick this inside, then couple inches another, and they going in that way.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll have to try
Hopefully
that.
you can use it next time.
Yeah, definitely, because I'm working on this poor piece that is just so collapsed. But yeah, and I would like to make another one, maybe that's like 24, because I enjoyed making the challenge of the bigger piece.
And this one is amazing.
Thank you very much.
Super.
The Europeans have fantastic designs.
Thank
Very
you
good.
so much, Candy, and
Oh,
everybody.
sure. Thank you.
Going to be our March 7th featured speaker for the Monday night Upper Midwest Bead Society. So we'll be doing more advanced bead crochet, more advanced finishing techniques, more how to create your patterns, all kinds of fun things. So come to the March 7th meeting for more bead crochet.
Yeah, I'll have a pattern included along with the instructions, the full helpful hints. I have a hint document on how to add thread, because with these, I do them in sections because they're just too long. So I have a really easy way to add thread. It's basically, it's the same way that you add thread when you're yarn crocheting, but it works really well and pretty seamless.
So we really look forward to all those tips and tricks and more in-depth into bead crochet.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks you guys for the opportunity to try out my camera and yeah. And hopefully it's a Zoom, so I don't.
You're pro and you'll be teaching Zoom classes before you know it.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
You too. So basically, I'm going to be teaching now Alexandra Sidorenko's unicorn tier pattern. She is so graciously let us create kits and everything here at Bobby Bead. And we're darn excited because we have so many different kits to show you. I'll show you quick. I'll switch my camera here. And oh my gosh, look at all these different colors of kits that we've got. And so, because we've got the cyan, ruby, and gold, and we've got fuchsia, we've got jet bronze combination. We have the rose, like it's like a rosy topaz with gold, and the aquamarine with silver. There's this cool Alexandrite. This changes colors. So depending on whether you're in sunlight or fluorescence, it's either that very peri purple or a very blue. We've got teal and a couple sizes. So we have wonderful kits, and they're $9.95, and there's enough to make 4 of the unicorn components in each kit. So otherwise, but the main focal bead that you really need to use, you can't make it with a round. It doesn't work. You have to use these incredible gem donuts. And that's the key, is that it just really is so adorable. And you can do them in a variety of ways. And so there's 3 different techniques depending on your own imagination. Your basic one has the 3 different focal beads and your pearls, and it's captured by little 15s. Otherwise, if you want to make it double-sided, you can certainly make it double-sided and capture it on both sides. Or instead of capturing it on both sides, you can use the second side to frame those beautiful little crystals. And so it's a really unique pattern. It's so flexible. You can do almost anything with it. You can make these great little like charm endings for your fringes, and it's really fun. Or you can make a wonderful just pendant for a necklace, and it just really accents the colors that you're using. So it's just so much fun. So how did you come up with the pattern, Alexandra?
Thank you for this question, Rochelle. I actually was looking for something quick and easy. And I start playing with those beads, try to connect 3 big rondelles together, because I got a bunch of rondelles at this moment. So I just try to connect them together, and then I start adding some beads, playing around, and we end up with this design. And as I can see, Rochelle did amazing color combination, and also she did great job with the different sizes. And only things which I can add, like in addition to this project, for example, if you didn't like the shorter earrings and you would prefer to wear the longer one, you can connect smaller and longer pieces together. You will have longer earrings. Oh, you already did this.
Well, this
You
one
did
I
this
did,
in
they're both the same size, but I
same
did
size,
connect
but you
it
can do one
direction.
bigger and one smaller. Or
And
another easy options, you can add simple teardrop beads with vertical hole, with side hole, and this will also create very like more airy, more light looking earrings as well. And I know that Rochelle also creates something like bracelet using same idea, and I must tell you, I was thrilled when she told me this, because I even didn't think about this as a bracelet. So she just did a beyond excellent job.
well, you can either use these as separate components and have something in the center, or you can then, connect them whichever direction you want, versus, so that they went all in the same, like leaves or petals, or, there's just so many different things, and every size comes out different. So if you want to use little micro ones, these are little 3 by 5 millimeters. Usually we use 5 by 7s or 6 by 9s, but if you can find little 3 by 5s, they just make really charming little drops. And then I've been adding them to the bottom of these symbols findings. And so they make just really interesting components along that. So it's just, they're really fun, quick and easy. And it's your imagination. And so the back side is a little bit darker if you don't put the capturing on that, if you have it on the edge. So it's really nice and dramatic, I think, depending on the colors you use. And so it's just so much fun. So today we're gonna do the fuchsia and gold, because why not? And so I'm very excited. But how'd you come up with a unicorn tier? I mean, that is just the most charming name.
Unicorn tier, it's a long story, but when my daughter, she's 26 now, but she was a teenager, and once we went in one of the actually we have some nice chat with friends, and my daughter started teasing me, and she said, "Oh, Mom, I'll know why everybody loves you, because you live in a world where unicorn exists." So she thinks she teased me, but I love this. Actually, I love this idea, and I said, you know what? Unicorn will be my totem animals now.
I think so. I really, really do.
So starting from that moment, I'm playing with the unicorn all over, and I'm creating different name occasionally using the unicorns.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And they're just so charming. You hear the name and you can't resist. You got to make them. And that's what I think inspires the happy colors as well. But the black and bronze is a dramatic unicorn, in my opinion.
Yeah, this one would be very stylish.
Exactly, exactly. So let's take a look at the pattern here then, and I'll show you. Whoops. I don't know why that didn't work.
Or maybe you need to unpin me probably.
Yeah, there we go. So now can y'all see the pattern? It should be working. Nope. All right. What did I do? All right, so here's the pattern, and it's just so adorable. The list of materials, like I said, it's rondelles, and you can use 7 to 8 millimeter, 6 to 9 millimeter, 5 to 7 millimeter. The idea is the rondelles, and then 4 millimeter rounds. You can use 3 millimeter rounds. You can use fire polish. It's up to you. And then size 11 beads and size 15 beads. And she recommends using Fireline. I have used Toho 1G. I'm using Nanofill today. So it's made by the Berkeley people, but it's a little.
Rochelle, may I interrupt? I recommend use the Fireline. That was before I discovered 1G, but 1G will work perfectly as well.
Well, I thought with the clear crystals, that's what I packed in the kits was the 1G, because then I matched the thread to the color of the kit. So if it was the purple, I'm using the purple thread, and then I was using the mauve thread for the pink, and a lot of the golds. I use like the sand ash, the teal. So that's what's so great about the Toho thread. There's 22 different colors. And in Fireline or Nanofill, there's only 1 to 3 colors. We really are limited. And so what we're gonna do, the very first step is how we link it all together. So we are gonna add one of the rondelles, and then an 11 seed bead, and then a pearl or fire polish, your 3 or 4 mil object, and then another seed bead, an 11-0 seed bead. And then we repeat that same sequence 3 more times. And so put them all on your beads. So the rondelle, 11-0, round, 11-0, and then rondelle, and repeat. And then what we're going to do is pass through them all again so that it forms the circle. So here you can see forms the circle. And so I've been picking them up on my tray here, and we'll just continue along. And it's really fun to just use your imagination, and golly jeepers, I'm kind of a klutz today. Did anybody have those days? Where everything you touch just kind of flips all over the place. You should see my little studio here. It's kind of covered in beads because I just did Lisa's beaded bead, and I tried my hand at crochet. And so this is what we lead on. So you start with your rondelle, and then you have your little sequence of 11-0 and 4 mil. So then I slide it down. You only need about 1 yard of thread at most for each one of these. And so then I go through it again. So I just hold it in my hand so that I can go through it again. You shouldn't be able to go through all the beads at one time. So don't even try, because you got a lot of beads on here. So just continue to pass through all those beads again until you meet where your tail came up to again. You want to meet your tail. So you form a circle with those beads that you just added here. And if you want to keep really nice tension, you can just do a really small knot here, just one. It's almost just like wrap over, and that way just a little tiny knot. That way you just keep your tension all good to go. So now you want to pass through that first big giant bead, whatever size rondelle you're using, and come out of the rondelle. And then, sorry, we formed our circle. And so if it's not tight enough, okay. And then what we want to do is we are going to pick up 4 Ds, which are the little tiny 15-0 guys. And then we want to pick up 1 of the 11s, and then 4 15s. So we can show you again on the pattern. We're right here, number 3. And so you just come through, pass through the A. So you're exiting out of that giant rondelle. And so then pick up 4 D. So that's the 15-0, and then 1 C, that's the 11-0, and 4 D. And so we are making a loop. So pretty much you're just jumping the rondelle you came out of. And that way it'll create this little archway that we can use. So we're going to create 3 of those, 1 around each of the rondelles. So we'll pick up 4 of the 15s. And this is the boring part. I know, watching somebody pick up a seed bead. And so 4 of the little 15s. And then we've got 1 of the 11s and 4 of the 15s. If your rondelle is a little bit bigger, you might have 5 15s. If you're going down to the smaller 3x5s, then just 1 less 15. That's all pretty much the adjustments you use depending on the size of your rondelle. So since you just came out of this side of the rondelle, you want to go into the other side of the rondelle and come out where you just came from. That way, that little bridge of beads will sit right on top of it. And then we're going to move forward through the 11-0 and pearl sequence and then exit out the next big giant rondelle. And we're going to repeat that same thing right over each one of them. So add your 4 15s, your 11 and your 4 15s. And then once again, you came out of one side of the rondelle, you want to go right back into the other side so that it loops it and forms that just nice loop. Pass through the next sequence in between. And come out of the next big rondelle. And so this is your last time that you're going to create your last little bridge. And so if you didn't want to use an 11 in the middle and you wanted to use something a little more special, you could use like a 2mm fire polish or pearl, and that'll give you a really nice accent as well. I'm using the same color seed beads, but if you used a different color 11-0, it's really going to pop for you. And so now we just made our last bridge. And so to make it tighter, I'm going to pass through to come out of my next large. You could go straight up the bridge, but I just want to keep the tension a little tighter. So I'm just going to jump to the next. So we just came out of the next giant rondelle. And now you want to pass up through the first half of this little bridge. So that would be through the first 4 15s and the 11-0 in that first bridge. Now we want to bring all of our bridges together. So we're going to meet right in the middle. So you're exiting out the 11-0 right here in the center. So now we're just going to jump to the next 11-0, skip all them 15s, don't go through those, and just go through the 11-0 from the point of the bridge of the rondelle next to you, and just twist it in your hand now so it's easy to hold. And now pass through the 11-0 of the other remaining, the third bridge there. And then now we're going to pass through the first one where you originally started to bring all those together. So this way, all those bridges meet in the middle and form a really nice little accent here. And so we're just going to pass through those one more time just to tighten it all up here. And then to give a little accent, we are going to add a bead in between these 11-0s. You have 3 11-0s that have just met in the middle. So what we want to do is add just a couple little accent beads. So you can take a 15 and stick it in between. So when you jump to the next one, pick up a 15 and then pass through the next 11. And the little 15 will sit right on top. If you want to use a different color, you want to use an accent pearl or an accent fire polish, you could. A different color, it's up to you. But we're just going to stick 1 15 in between each of those 11s. And so we're securing that center part and adding our little accent. That way the center is all groovy. And so now we're going to run down the closest bridge the 4/15s, wherever the 11 you just exited, run out, clear your playing field before you start playing and you won't catch things as much. But anyway, so we just ran down the 4/15s of the nearest 11 I just exited, and I'm going to pass back through the giant rondelle. And see how adorable that is already? I mean, it's just the cutest little thing. So what do you want to do with this? Do you want to make an earring? So if you want to make an earring, then we can make the little earring loop right on the top so that you can hang it from your ear. So we just want to make a little bridge around the top pearl and add our little ear wire loop. And so here we go. We just flung our beads everywhere. That's okay. And so I'm going to pass through. I'm coming out of the 11-0 here. I'm going to pass through just the pearl in the middle accent. So this way it will be right in my center. So the point is downward and I'm going to have the ear wire right here. So we're going to make another little bridge, which is just like the first. And so depending on the size of the pearl you're using, if it's a 4 millimeter or 3 millimeter, you might need 2 or 3 15s. You're just going to watch your sizing. And so 2 15s and an 11 are perfect for the 4 millimeter. So I do 2 15s and an 11 and then 2 15s. So then I'm coming out of the right side of the pearl. I'm going to go into the left side of the pearl and exit exactly where my thread is. So I'm heading for the thread. And that way that little arch will sit right there on top of the pearl. And now we want to make the ear wire loop. So kind of we're figuring out more of like the figure 8. So you just went around there. We're going to go right back up again and come out of the 11-0 at the top. So now we'll just make the top of the figure 8, which is just 6 little beads, little 15-0s, and that way you can hook your ear wire onto it. Or if you want to make a fringe and make it a dangle, you could do that same very thing. And right on the top of the fringe is where those little beads, that's where you make the little chain part if it's going to be a dangle. So it's just the same stitch no matter what you're doing. You just kind of adapt it just a tiny little bit depending on how long you want it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 15-0s, and I came out of this side of the 11-0. So I'm going to go into the other side. That way it'll sit right on top and it'll form a loop that my ear wire can go into. And if we just do that figure 8 pathway again, it'll reinforce it. So I went through the pearl, then I came back up through the first two 15-0s I added and the 11-0. I'm going to go through that loop again to secure it. That way it's all nice and tight. And so here we go. We pass back through the 11-0 and down the 2 15s on this side. And now we're going to go the other direction. So I'm going to go through the 11 and the big giant bead, the rondelle. And I just met my tail again. So if you're having any tension issues, you totally can tie a little knot if you like to. We are so almost done. We're going to feed into our tails anyway and run around and secure our tail thread and our working thread if all you're going to make is one little earring with a single side. So if it's a little loose, don't worry about it. That's why we pass back through the whole thing again. And if your bridges up to the center are loose, just run around those again too. Follow the same thread paths that you did before and then it'll just be nice and tight. If you want to do the bridging on both sides, like I've got here, you can do it either at the very beginning when you make your first bridge. You could make the second bridge right after that, or you could go make them right now and turn around and do the very same thing on the back. It's super versatile, so you can just make your decisions as you go. There's no real big stress over, I like these quick and easy projects because they're just so gratifying, you don't have to work for a whole weekend on something. You could make 20 of them in a weekend, something for all your friends, pretty much. And the bracelet and the necklace besides. And what's the funnest thing you've done with them yet, Alexandra?
Oh, to be honest, I wasn't so creative as you. I just created a simple design I was teaching, and then when I was doing the art show, I just did tons of different colors, and that was always very popular on the art show. So basically, that's it. I didn't create anything so funny as you provide here, Rochelle. You just outdone yourself.
Well, I
And I'm so enjoying your demo. Thank you.
I just have having a ball with them, and I have a lot of customers who have been playing with them as well, coming up with some really interesting color ways to do it. And and the bracelets, and I think that they'd make great ornaments to hang on a tree.
That's my plan, is a Christmas ornament.
See,
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, love those colors. Gorgeous.
And so, yeah, we have a lot of folks in our bead society who do really amazing ornament work. And so anything that you can, and they just make the cutest drops. And so I was just re-securing it all, and then I take my tail. I usually just bead right off of my bobbins just in case I need extra thread, or if I don't, then I don't waste anything either. And so I don't tie any other knots really. I just weave my tails in and go back the other direction, and that way they're just fun. And you hook your ear wire right on there and then go to town if that's all you're gonna do. Like I said, if you want to create the extra bridge around the outside, I did it at the very same time from the beginning. So I did the first bridge on that one, and then I did a second one around the very same, and then I moved forward. And I did 2 around that one and 2 around that one. And then I grabbed them together. And then you're done if that's all you're going to do. Otherwise, if you want it to be on the back, then after you capture the first side, turn it over and capture the second side. So it's pretty much going in a lot of circles, but it makes it very secure. So I really liked mixing the different colors of pearls in the same too. So this was a whole thing I was going to hook together in 3. I just didn't get it done yet. And so that way I have, this one has red pearls, this one has gold pearls, and then I have the red pearl with the capturing on the outside. So I thought it'd be a really cute for Valentine's, but I never got that far, sorry. But Valentine is always next year too, right? And so
the bridges around the 4mm pearls also.
You could absolutely,
I did, yes.
You do it right here at the top. So why couldn't you put a bridge around these other ones? There's no reason why you can't do any of those kind of fun things. You could put accent pearls on the top. And so it's this one. I did do accent pearls instead of, Well, actually, it's right on top of the 11. And so I've got my 3, I did all 11s on this one because these are 7x9 crystals. So they're a little bit bigger. So I did a 2 mil pearl, 3 11s, and then a 2 mil pearl in the center for my bridge. That way it's got 3-dimensional because the little pearls stick up a little bit more. So it's pretty much, yeah, your imagination, honestly, of how much you accent it. And so Chris, using complementary colors or using colors that are more monochromatic, I think that there's just, the possibilities are limitless. And with all these new check pearls out there, I just think they're so cool. So I do think they're really fun. Like I said, I've got all these kits put together. So there's the aquamarine, this is the alexandrite, and they all have a couple different color pearls, depending on the colors you want, or if you want to make the drop charms. Or I have the gold, and that has the fuchsia with the gold pearls, or the black. Bronze has the bronze pearls and the black pearls. And so they all come with the ear wires, they come with the thread, they come with, so yeah, this one has the fire polish. Instead of using the rounds, I used a fire polish in between there. And it just gives a really nice subtlety. I did use the same color 15s and 11s, but that perma finish teal just pops right off of those teal. And then I use the milky teal fire polish. So in the kit, there's little 2 mm pearls. So that way you could stick them all over the top and it would be really fun. So there are 7 different colors of kits, and some come in 2 sizes. Whichever size you want, like the 5x7 or the 7x9, because like Alexandra is saying, you could get them and stick them together. I think they'd be fun to hang in the windows in my kitchen as well. You know, because why not? A little sparkly sunshine goes a long way. And so, and the rose gold one is really pretty. I really like this. It's a rosy gold topaz. And so it's just so pretty. And so, I don't know, does anybody have any questions on the technique? I think it's just so fun and simple, yet your imagination, the things you can do with it, you won't get bored. I've made probably 50 of them so far, I think. And so I just think they're the best. So I really appreciate you letting us use your pattern, Alexandra, and joining us today. Your imagination is just a
Thank you.
joy.
I was honored when you decided to work with my pattern, and this is so pleasant to see how you explain everything. Probably you did much better job than I do.
Oh, no, not at all. And so I've been having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to all what you guys are doing. So if you made any beaded beads, you practice your crochet, you made some unicorn tears, post pictures of them in our thing here so that everybody could see what you made. And if you come up with great new ideas, let me know, because that way we can share them as well with people. And so I think they'd make great little brooches too. You could like sew them all over, you know?
For example, like some metal ring underneath and a magnet to avoid destroying your fabric. It could be magnet brooch. Or you can even glue some metal part to the back side and use a magnet.
Yeah, all kinds of things. So yeah, if you don't do the back side, then it's, you know, you see the more dramatic color. And if you do the back side, then you see your, you know, the metallic piping again. And so it's, yeah, completely up to you guys how you want to do them. We give you lots and lots of options.
Thank you, Rochelle and Alexandra.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, the pattern kit is on our website. and they're under patterns and kits at the very, very bottom of the page. But you just look for Alexandra's name on our website and you'll find it. And so thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll all join us Monday night once again for the Team Toho live challenge exhibit. And then we'll be announcing and launching the 2022 palette. And so we look forward to all of that as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a super day, you guys. Thanks, Alexandra. I hope to
Thank
see
you,
you on
Lydia.
Monday night. We're showing all your pieces and your video and all that kind of
Definitely will try be. I'm in North Carolina right now, but tomorrow we are going back to New Jersey. So Monday I will try to be right on time.
Yep, 6:30 Central Time on Team Toho Facebook page.
Okay. Will be
All right.
7:30 our time. Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. Otherwise, join us March 7th for Candy Sexton for our Monday night meeting. Join the club. Stop recording. Wait a minute. That's what I got to do.